Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Shane here. Shane, you're somebody that's been, pretty innovative in a bunch of different spaces, which is very cool. But one of the spaces you've gotten a lot of traction for is what you did with easy texting, with SMS marketing. I mean, you built up a lot of the foundation today of what we see for SMS marketing, and you grew that company to, I think, 50,000 small and medium-sized businesses. You got clients like Uber on and Home Depot. And it became really like a great way for people to target their customers, and you built up the system for that, and you've been a prolific investor in lots of different types of companies. Now you've got to focus on AI that we were just talking about before, but you also back
Mhm.
Perplexity and some other interesting companies in the AI space. So I'm excited to have you and to get into your story.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to this. Thanks.
Awesome. So just going to the beginning, like how did your interest in entrepreneurship and wanting to build businesses and just also kind of merging that in with tech, how did that passion start?
It was accidental, honestly. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I actually went to medical school. I studied computer science because when you're pre-med, you have to have a major and it can be in anything you want. Um, and I was trying to figure out a major that I didn't have to memorize anything in because I had enough memorization to do for bio and physics and all this other stuff that was going on. And computer science seemed like um, a good way to not do that because you can't memorize code anyway. And so that seemed like an ideal thing, and it also seemed like a good backup plan in college if I didn't get into medical school, that I could always kind of kind of just like get a job as a programmer or something like that and go into tech. But I actually ended up going to NYU Med, and my roommate at the time in Manhattan, because it was really expensive to live in Manhattan, he was working at Goldman, and he knew that I had a computer programming background, and it was during the dot-com boom. And he basically, halfway through the semester, came up to me one day. It was a Sunday, and he said, "Are you crazy? We could become millionaires right now. I can raise all this money, and you know how to make tech, and you know how to program, and you know, you're going to be studying for the rest of your life, or you can become, unbelievably rich." And at that time, there was crazy stuff happening during the dot-com boom, and it didn't take much convincing to do that. So we did it, and I dropped out, and he raised a few $1 million from people who thought it was a good idea to give 22-year-olds that kind of money. And we built a really great business that failed, basically, with the dot-com boom, boom and bust, and then subsequent bust.
What did you take away from that experience? I mean, being so young, getting a shot like that with that kind of capital, like what did you figure out from there that made you kind of different when you started other businesses?
Timing is everything, honestly. I think we built a really great product, but it was basically Microsoft 365, but using Citrix. I mean, we had an app store. We would save your stuff in the cloud. Um, we, you know, we had the right idea and a great idea, but just way too early. There was not enough broadband penetration. People weren't, even the word SaaS didn't exist, right? So, paying for software on a monthly basis didn't really sit well with customers. And so, just as important of what you do is when you do it. So that was a great lesson that I learned. Um, I also learned how to sell, um, which ended up being a great, because we were a small team. I got on a lot of the client calls when we were trying to sell our. At that time you would pick up the phone, and actually it was really funny. We were an internet company, but like people would send their orders in via like a faxed form, right? Um, that's how SaaS was done. Um, And so that was one of the things that I really think I got a valuable skill in. Um, Obviously, also, running large teams and learning how to, build a team of developers and that kind of stuff which was a great stepping stone to my next ventures and my next businesses. But um, I think sales is a very, very important part of the equation uh, that not too many founders have enough skills in and experience in.
I think it's a great point. I mean, sales, your company kind of lives or dies by what you're able to do from a sales perspective and how you can close deals. And something that really should be focused on. So, what led to you, Shane, wanting to create Junebug and merge like in person events with online, but things that are going on in
Mm.
your community as well? Like, why create something that bridges the two? And how was that? How does sales play a part of that?
It was definitely accidental as well. I thought I was gonna, after that, I kind of went broke. I lost all my money too because I had put a bunch of money in and my time. I was living in my girlfriend's dorm with her to save money. Um, and she was working at a few of the nightclubs on the weekends on the side, and then she'd get paid at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'd go and pick her up, just for safety reasons or whatever. And I'd go to like the back office of these places, and everything was being done with pen and paper, and they were giving out like paper flyers. They were all strewn all over the floor, and they didn't even have like a POS system. They didn't have anything, right? Um, and it wasn't just like one place; it was like every place was like this. And this is a long time ago. This is like 2000, 2001, right? And that's when I saw the opportunity, and I went back to her dorm room, not my dorm room, the proverbial dorm room. And I said, this, there has to be a better way. And then, I created an alpha system, um, and, literally used whatever leverage I had with her to, get my foot in the door and start talking to these owners and convincing them to try this new system for not only just running their establishment, but also obviously marketing it and getting the word out and that kind of stuff, which was pretty new, right? Like there was no like Mailchimp, there was no Eventbrite, there was no camera phone, there was no Facebook, there was there was nothing at that point, right? So even a, a place having a website, there were no WYSIWYG website editors. So it was pretty it was difficult but easy. I think people wanted it. They just needed to be presented it in the right way. So I got lucky with the timing of that, right? As well.
And how did you take that from this effort you're talking about now of just trying to get into some of these places that needed your help to 25 million in revenue? I mean, that seems like you took it from 0 to 25, not so easy.
No, that was a 10-year slog, to be honest with you. That's not how we started. I mean, we started with a $4,000 check. I'll never forget that, right? Which was a big bit win for our first sale. Um, Um, it was a mix of a bunch of different things because we kept on trying things. It was a SaaS. It was also advertising because we had a very popular website. We started taking pictures. We would sell the pictures. But the thing that we really kind of boosted us to the next level is realizing ticket sales. Um, and there was it kind of coincided with the rise of EDM, and a lot of these places, Ticketmaster would not, they're not big enough. And Ticketmaster was a monopoly. Well, still is a monopoly, but and there was no ticketing solution. And we kind of filled the gap there, and then realized that we could sell millions of tickets. And when you do the math of a few dollars per ticket and convenience fees, it really adds up a lot.
So, I mean, you built this company up. You said 10 years it took you to get to that revenue point. Then eventually you decide to sell it to, I think, your biggest competitor. What did that feel like?
Um, I was happy, honestly. I had started easy texting because we had realized that one of our main ways of marketing was through email marketing. And by that time, and this happened quickly, like this was like 2005, 6. we went from no Facebook, no MailChimp, no Eventbrite, none of that, to everybody and their mother having a MailChimp account, and you getting an email from the DJ, the club, us, your grandmother, like everyone, right? And so I was looking for a way to cut through the clutter. Texting was really on the rise, mainly because of the use of Blackberries. And everybody was using Blackberries at that time. Well, at least everyone in New York City. And I was like, hey, how do we send a text instead of an email? Maybe that'll work out. Um, Realized it wasn't that easy because there was no Twilio at that time. Um, Took me a little while to figure it out. It's in the phone system, so it's not internet, right? It's like, texting is through the phone systems. Figured that out, and then kind of built an alpha version, and then sent out our first text and got a massive response, plus like tens of calls of other people saying, "How did you just do that?" And then the light bulb came up, being, well, if I couldn't find a solution and I just figured out a solution, this could be really something that's big. Spent a year building it, and it's called Easy Texting, and then what did that concurrently, and then realized that that business could be a lot bigger. And I had a lot, and it was also the shiny new object for me. I had been doing that for 10 years. Um, it's a very tough industry, the nightlife industry. Um, it takes its toll on you. There's a lot of churn because, you know, these places tend to go out of business, and then a new place comes up and you have to really kind of start over again. And anyway, so I decided that it would be better for me to kind of focus on easy texting, and there was an opportunity to sell at a good price to a competitor, and then I basically used those funds to fund easy texting.
So how did you get the easy texting like system to work? I know you just touched on it a little bit, but like you mentioned, it's not internet. But how did you figure that out? Doesn't seem to be like a simple thing to figure out.
No, it wasn't. Short codes had just come out about a year before that, and no one really knew that too well. There was, like, if you Googled send mass text message or whatever, there just wasn't any, like, there was no competition. There was no competition for years, even after we were established. um, I basically found a company in the UK, and this had been through a lot of research, and they were a telecom company that kind of did short codes, but in the UK. And I called them in the UK and I said, like, hey, do you do this in the US? And they're like, wait, that's so crazy that you did this, called us, because we just opened an office in the US last week. And I'm like, wait, so you can send text messages in the United States? They're like, yes. I'm like, where's your office? They're like, it's on 14th and 5th. And my office was on 21st and 5th. So I was like, give me the number of the guy, your new guy. And I called him and I said, are you in the office? He said, yes. I said, great, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Hung up the phone, ran over, learned how it all works, and then literally signed on the dotted line right that second. Um, and at that time, I wasn't thinking easy texting wise. I was still in the Junebug phase. And so the short, we got a short code in the United States, which is, for people who don't know, it's a 5 or 6 digit number. And that's how mass text messaging was done for a very long time. Now people have what are called DIDs, which are 10 digit numbers, and that's a little bit more common. But you couldn't do that back then. And I got the 5 digit number that corresponded with the word clubs on, it was 25827, that was on the dial pad. I mean, people were still thinking about dial pads at that time, right? So that changed obviously with easy texting, but that's how it all started. And then I had to build software around it. It's one thing to get a short code, it's another thing to build an entire software system around it, which I took the cues from. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I took the cues from MailChimp and Constant Contact. I mean, it's literally the best analogy of what easy texting does. They do the same thing just for texting.
How did you go and take it from this idea and this initial version to getting customers like Uber and the Home Depot and 50,000 small medium businesses? I mean, that's a lot of different people on this. How did you scale it? What was the pitch? It was just this going to bring in more revenue because you can access people better.
Um, I think to a degree I got lucky because we were first to market and people were looking for a solution like this and it just didn't exist. And so I spent a lot of time dominating SEO and SEM. Um, and we realized, there's no way we could call on every business and do outbound sales. And I didn't really want to focus on the enterprise, even though a lot of enterprises used us. Um, it actually was easier for the person at Uber to just pull out their Uber credit card and put, buy 1,000 text messages than to go through the entire enterprise process of buying software. Um, so we even had like Pepsi, right? Like the person who was doing the Pepsi concerts, even though Pepsi had their own short code, like they would use easy texting because they didn't have the software or it wasn't as easy to set up through their own IT department to run like a texting contest at their concert, right? Um, and it was just like cheaper. It was like, a few $1,000 and for one concert, and that's the way it worked. Um, so we really, really perfected, and it was actually, again, I just used the playbook of MailChimp and Constant Contact and used the best parts of what they did. We funneled people in through a free trial. We would read online what a lot of these ESPs were doing. Like we'd call you within, 30 minutes of you signing up with a, CSM. Um, do you need help? Can we help you? And then we would convert them into a paying customer. We had an 800 number that you could call. MailChimp did it only through chat, but we took the best of everything that we could find and just copied them.
It made sense. I mean, you had other examples out there in the email space and they worked. Why change something that works? Just kind of emulate that here. So I see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that, and it was just a rush to do it before everybody else realized this. In fact, one of the things that we did, because a year into it, there really were no competitors. Um, and I was afraid that, we were going to get a lot of competitors because people would, Google it and just see one result, basically. So we white labeled the software, created multiple websites, like, I don't know, like we called it like, masstexting.com or something else. I forgot the other ones that we had. We had like 10 other domains, and just kind of created different variations of the easy texting website, and then just reskin the software, and then we started buying ads against ourselves, which sounds counterintuitive, but it wasn't, because it made also the person who is searching think that this is like a real industry and it's not just like one player and there are other people who are doing this and this must be something that a lot of other people do, right? And it also probably deterred for a while other entrants to the market.
That's an interesting strategy. Very clever. So how did the easy texting kind of journey, Shane, end for you? Like, what was the end of that?
um we it was another like 8 or 9 year slog for me. And I got approached by an acquirer, a strategic acquirer that happened to be our customer, and I was open to it. And you know. Um, I was, maybe I would have done better if I had waited because, SaaS multiples went up a lot and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I figured out what would be the thing that I'd be happy with at the time, and I did it. So, that's when it kind of ended. I mean, I stayed aboard for another year or so to help through the transition. But then I really decided that I didn't want to start another startup at that time. I'd been doing it for close to 20 years, and I needed to figure out how to not suck at investing, basically, from there. So that's been my 10-year journey right now, which I'm not even sure. Like, I don't even know where I stand in that in that journey right now because it's every year teaches you another lesson, and it's so dynamic. It's difficult to be consistently good.
Well, what has been that like transition from founder to investor? Like, how's that been like for you? Like the change?
It was hard, but just like anything else, you do it long enough, you learn, you build thick skin, you start to enjoy it when you get a little bit better at it. And so um, I'm at the point where I think I'm doing the best deals of my life the last few years. I've also, it takes a long time to establish a reputation. It takes a long time to learn and network. And then, it's like I'm getting on that part of the J curve where, all that time and effort is starting to pay off a little bit. Um, so it's uh it's definitely different in that when you're a startup founder, you always have this like urgency and fire that you have to put out, and it's a different kind of stress. Um, it's awful, I have
Like a
to
lack
tell
of
you.
control stress?
Yeah, it's always like, what's the next problem I have to solve all the time, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Um, I think and doing helps you fix that. Okay. As opposed to with investing, too much doing actually, there's a lot of uncertainty too, but too much doing can really be negative for you, right? Like you do, especially when it comes to like stocks and crypto and this other kind of stuff. Not venture investing, obviously you can't do much once you invest. Um, well, I guess you can. You can mess it up by, you know, trying to take control, trying to interfere too much with the startup and that kind of stuff. Um, but not everything that was a great thing a great characteristic to have as a founder is a great characteristic as a investor, and it takes time to undo that and relearn and rewire yourself.
So what do you want to do now? Like, what are your future aspirations? Is the kind of focus investing and that's a long-term plan?
Yeah, I think I just want to really get a lot better at what I do. I'm doing things now, um, not for the sake of doing them, which is, because when you're a founder, you're a doer. Um, I've learned a lot of patience and trying to just focus on things that have really high impact. So, for example, I led a Series A investment in a company called ND Addicts, which is a robotic pill that you can swallow, and you can do an at-home endoscopy on a telemedicine like this, and it sends back the video of your upper endoscopy to the doctor. Um, that's a First of all, it's super freaking cool. uh, but second of all, it's really impactful, right? There are 75 million of these done globally. Most of the time, you have to be anesthetized. It's like a $15,000 procedure when you do it at the office. There's no reason why people should be put to sleep to see inside their stomach and a tube's put down their throat. So you know, I can spend a lot of time doing things that are much more impactful and um, important, let's just say, or what I feel is important. Obviously, might not be for other people. So I think that's what I've been mostly focused on, doing those types of things. Um, it's almost like it's like philanthropic entrepreneurship. You know, kind of backing companies that you think would have the most impact. Um, I guess they tried to do that with ESG, but kind of went overboard a little bit. But this is the way I think about it.
Yeah, well, that's a great thing to back what you're doing there. That was all the questions that I had, Shane. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I mean, I think your contributions in the SMS marketing space were profound and huge, and I mean in the investing space too. Like what you're trying to back there with that camera is that could have major effects on people and on people's health as well. So I think that's great that you really care about trying to better the world, and that's a focus of yours. And I'm excited to see how you'll continue to do that. So thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Ben.